good morning, and welcome to another edition of Tuesday Transformation Tidbits with Patrice, where we're transforming your mind, we're empowering you to overcome obstacles, and we're igniting the passion, the power, and the potential that lies on the inside of each and every one of us. I am so glad that you decided to join me on this morning. It is an amazing morning, and we thank God just for another day and new mercies that we were able to receive when we rose on this morning. In the month of March, can you really believe we're in March of 2025? But in the month of March, it is considered to be Women's History Month. And in this month, where we're going to be dealing with women of dedication, women of faith, women of determination, and women of action. I read a quote somewhere that says, when you educate a woman, you educate a generation. When a woman participates in economy, everyone will profit from it. So women are important creatures. Women have played influential and transformative roles for century long. We have been playing important parts in history. We've been incredible women, women full of courage, women full of boldness, women full of convictions. We are beautiful women. We are victorious women. We're women that are more than enough. We are women that are strong and amazing. We are tenacious women that we're put here. So in this month, we're going to be featuring how women remain steadfast in their faith and their purpose despite the challenges that has been seeming to come in our way, but yet we still are in the race. We're talking about women that are faith in action, women who persevere, women who prevail against the odds. This month, we're going to be talking about unshakable women, women who walked in faith, and women of power on this month. On this month, we want to dedicate it towards the women and let all the women know that we love you, we appreciate you, we think that you are simply outstanding. You're absolutely amazing. And I give all my sisters on the line and those who come to hear a clap on today because we are amazing women. So let's get started on today. Women today, we have been called to do a lot of things, and women today, the question becomes, can we have it all? Can we have the education? Can we have the career? Can we have church services, participating in ministry? Can we have marriages? And can we have families? Can women truly have it all? Can we really have all that I just mentioned? All the education? Can we really have all the career? Can we really be participating in ministry, marriage, and family? Or is it really time for us really to define what having it all really means? So when we begin to look at the message or the meaning of really having it all, it oftentimes clashes. And what does it clash with? It clashes with the reality that there is really limited time. It clashes with the reality of emotional exhaustion, and it clashes with the reality that the challenge of balancing multiple roles. But so I ask again, can women really have it all? Can we have everything that we do? Are we I believe it was a song that talks about that we're every woman's man. Wherever you want, whatever you need, anything you want, we can do it. We can do it naturally because we're every woman, and everything we can do is all in us. But the question becomes, can we really have it all? Are we every woman? So on today, we're going to be talking about the point of what is having it all. And I want you to think for a moment, what really is having it all? Is having it all really your education, your career, participating in ministry, your marriage, your family, doing volunteer work? What is really having it all? When you look at really having it all, it's the pressure to do it all and having it all. So what do I mean? When we talk about the pressure to do it all, we're talking about cultural experiences really versus spiritual reality. When we look at the message that society gives us that you can do everything and you can be everything to everyone, the question really becomes, or the reality really becomes, that that's burnout. That's exhaustion. And that's feeling of failure that comes our way because we're so busy trying to do everything for everybody. When we look at it, it's the mental, it's the emotional, and it's the spiritual toll that's really coming on our body when we're trying to participate in everything. It's the pressure really of doing everything. We're juggling multiple roles. We're often leaded which often leads to neglecting ourselves, neglecting our self-care, our mental health, and our spiritual growth. When we look at the pressure of doing it all, it gives us a false sense of failure when we're not able to do it all. Why? Because mentally, we have already told ourselves that we can do everything. So when we really look at it from a biblical standpoint, though, what does it mean to have it all? What really does that mean? It means, let's look at it for a moment. Ecclesiastes 3:1 tells us, to everything there is a season. To everything, there's a season. There's a season for everything that we do in this earth. There is a purpose in a season under the heavens. So when we look at we're doing it all, are we really doing it in our season? Are we really do we really have purpose in what we're doing under heaven? Has God really given us what it is that we're supposed to be doing at that particular time? Or do we just think that we're supposed to do everything? When we look at the situational text in Luke, it really talks about the story of Martha and Mary. And we're choosing on today, rather you want to choose the good portion, which is God's will, or rather you're trying to please everybody. Once again, the question becomes, what does it mean really to do it all? What does it mean to have it all? Do we really need to have it all as women? Do we really need the pressure of doing everything? Do we really need the pressure of what is having it all? Having it all, our education, our career, our church service, our marriages, our family. Do we really know what it means of having it all? Or do we put ourselves under the pressure of doing everything? So when we really define and when we really begin to look at and defining success, not every woman is called to do everything at the same time. That's why Ecclesiastes tells us that there's a purpose and there's a season under heaven for us to do certain things. So we have to recognize that there's different seasons and different priorities that happens in different seasons. So what am I saying? Some seasons we're supposed to focus on our career. There are some seasons that we're supposed to focus on our family. And then there's other seasons that we're really supposed to focus on ministry. And all of that is okay in its perfect season. It's okay to be a priority in its rightful season. Not every woman is called to do everything at the same time. So when we begin to look at it, God's definition for success. Really, what is God's definition for success? Well, we do know that God's definition for success is different than the world's definition for success. When we look at success is not perfection. Success is not being busy all the time, but it's obeying the plans that God has for your life. Matthew 6:33 tells us to seek ye first the kingdom of God. And if we seek first the kingdom of God, God will add everything else we need. Then we will be functioning in the right season, in the right purpose, doing the right thing at the right time. When we begin to look at all of what we're going through, what we have to realize is that there are practical strategies for balancing. And as women, we need to learn how to balance things in our life. We don't need to be everything to every woman. We don't need to have our hands in everything that we do. But there are practical strategies that we need for balancing. My first practical strategies is delegation in a support system. As women, we need to learn how to delegate things to other people, but we need to be mindful of our support system. What do I mean? Surrounding ourselves with mentors, surrounding ourselves with friends, and a strong support network. The Bible talks about in Proverbs 11 and 14, in the multitude of counsel, there is safety. When we're surrounding ourselves with the people and the mentor we have, we can get counsel when we become overwhelmed. Someone can see that we're struggling, we're overwhelmed, we have pushed ourselves too much, we're under pressure because we're trying to do everything for everyone. Another strategy is the power of saying no without guilt. We've got to learn as women how to say no. Not today. I can't do that. No. The answer is no. And when we say no, we can't feel guilty about saying no, or we can't allow people to make us feel guilty to pull us in to say yes. You got to learn how to say no to extra commitments. You got to learn how to say no to extra curriculum activities. You got to say, no, I can't participate in this ministry at this particular time because maybe, first of all, God has not called you to be where you are in that ministry functioning at that particular time. Maybe that's not the task for you. Maybe that's not the department that you need to be working in. Yes, you have the skills to do that, but is it the season that God has called you to put purpose in your life to do that? So you got to learn how to say no without guilt, because if you don't, what's going to happen is it's going to drain all of our energy and it's going to distract us from the ultimate purpose that God has designed for our life. The next thing, we have to prioritize according to God's leading. We've got to ask God daily in prayer and seek wisdom on what it is that we truly need to be doing in this season. God, where does my skills and my potential, where shall I apply it to, God? What shall I be doing? Is that really for me, or is that for someone else in this season? We got to learn how to set priorities according to faith and not pressure. Our priorities have to be set according to faith, according to the purpose of God in our life. And we can't allow people to pressure us in doing things, because you can be misaligned and misappropriate in what you're doing because it's not the right time in the right season, and it's not the right design, job, and purpose for you. We've got to learn how to set priorities according to God's leading. And then the next thing we got to do, realize that self-care is not really selfish. Women, when you want to take out time for yourself and you really want to do something for you, you're not being selfish because you pull back from someone or something and you decided, hey, this day is about me. I need to do some self-care for me. I need to have a moment that I can woosah. I need to have a Selah moment, as what I call it, for me to sit back and digest my life. I need to have a moment that I'm taking care of my mental. I need to have a moment that I'm taking care of my emotions. I need to have a moment that I'm taking care of my spiritual health. It has to become a priority and not just a luxury. Yourself has to become a priority. We have to learn how we have to pull back and we have to take time for ourselves. And then we got to give you got to be careful, because you want to give yourself some grace. You don't want to put so much pressure on yourself trying to fulfill everything with everybody, trying to be every place at all times. Give yourself some grace. Understand that perfection is not the goal, but what the goal is to be faithful. What the goal is to be faithful unto God. What the goal is to function in your purpose in the correct season. What the goal is really to do things for kingdom's sake. So we got to be careful. And don't get it twisted. I'm not talking about don't clean your house. I'm not talking about don't take care of your family. I'm not talking about don't spend time with your husband. I'm not talking about all those things. But what I am saying is that you're not everything to everybody. you can't lose yourself in what you do, then you become no good for anyone else, because then you become sick, then you become physically drained, you have no energy to do what it is you're supposed to be doing in a particular season. So we've got to realize that these strategies are important. We got to realize the whole objective of balance. Delegate and have a support system, sis. You got to have the power of saying no without guilty, sis. You got to prioritize according to God's leading, my sister. You got to take self-care and realize self-care is not you being selfish, my sis. And then you got to give yourself some grace, sis. You got to understand that you don't have to be perfect in everything that you do, but it's about, are you being faithful in something that you're doing? So when we look at this, we got to understand on today, and my Tuesday transformation tidbit for you on today is that balance everything among all the available options that you have in your life. Balancing is a challenge. Since it's a challenge to each and every one of us. You have to have a wonderful life. And having a wonderful life, you got to be able to trade off something. You got to be willing to give up something. You've got to be willing to say, not today. I can't participate with this on today. You got to realize that burnout, exhaustion, and feeling like a failure, those things and those emotions are real. And it's real to us as women because we try to be everything. We can be functioning and being burnt out. We could be functioning and being exhausted and not knowing which way we go, don't know who we are, overwhelmed, sleepy, out of control, but we'll still do something for somebody. But we've got to realize that those emotions are real emotions. And there are signals to tell us, hey, you need to stop a moment. Hey, you need to say no. Hey, you need to get yourself together. Hey, give yourself some self-care on today. Having it all isn't about doing everything. And remember, my question is, can we have it all? What is having it all? But having it all is not about doing everything. But really, having it all is really about being aligned in God's purpose for your life. Having all that God designed for you to have, walking in purpose in the right season that God has for you, alignment with God's purpose so that you can live the bountiful life that God has called you to live, functioning in the kingdom at the place that God has called you to function in. Are you a Mary or are you a Martha? Do you want the good thing or do you want to be a people pleaser? We've got to really think about these things. And what prime time to do it than in the month of celebrating women? What prime time to do it is in the month that we're really taking out time to really think about us as women. What does having it all mean to you? And on today, as we travel along the way, as we go to our various destinations, or as we take out time to really do us on today, take a day aside and really appreciate yourself. What does having it all really mean to you? Where do you need to adjust your expectations? Are you burnt out? As women, sis, are you exhausted? Sis, are you feeling as a failure? The question becomes, what does having it all means to you? Can I balance all of the things that I'm juggling in my life? Do I have multiple things that I have juggling in the air and whatever falls is whatever I work on? Or have I decided that I want to live a life that's in alignment with God's purpose for me? So that means that I've got to get rid of some things that God has not called me to do, but I decided that I want to do. We got to make sure as we live in this life and as we're doing and aligning ourselves with the purpose of God for our life, do we have peace? Do we have clarity in our life? And do we have wisdom to balance the various things or the various roles in our life that God has given? Again, The question becomes for my Tuesday transformation tidbit to you, sis, what is having it all? Do you really need to have it all? Or having it all is not about doing everything, but it's about being in alignment with God's purpose for your life. My sis, I want you to have an amazing day. And remember, what does having it all mean to you? Salam.